Welcome to the Blenderized Pediatric Formula Overview video series, category B4149, part 2. As mentioned in part 1 of this video series, my name is Christina Crowder-Anderson, and I'm a pediatric registered dietitian nutritionist with extensive experience in blenderized diets, and I specialize in helping families nourish their children from infancy through adolescence. Let's explore the 6 whole food marketed pediatric tube feeding products, which include Real Food Blends, Functional Formularies Nourish, Nestle's Compleat Pediatric Organic Blends, Nestle's Compleat Pediatric Thin Liquid, Abbott's Pediasure Harvest, and Kate Farms Standard Pediatric 1.2 formula. Throughout this presentation, we're going to ask the following. What are the formula claims? Does the formula meet Blenderized criteria? What are the ingredients? Are there vitamins added? And are these formulas what we consider, quote, nutritionally complete? And we're going to talk about what this even means and who would these products be best for. I'll throw in some anecdotal clinical case studies just from my own practice. This is just my experience as a clinician that, obviously for every patient I've had do well on a product, I'm sure there's plenty of patients that have not done well and the opposite. So you need to take this with a grain of salt, but I just wanted to provide some examples to show how I've implemented these formulas in my practice. So the first formula we'll look at is Real Food Blends, and this was the first, quote, real food puree blenderized product on the market. They have 6 different meals, which each have a fruit serving, a veggie serving, a serving of high quality protein, including salmon, chicken, beef, egg, turkey, and they have a vegan version, which uses quinoa and hemp. They have a serving of grains, healthy fats, and fruit juice. This formula certainly meets the Blenderized criteria because it's made from whole foods and then pureed. It's a pretty thick formula that's designed to be bolused through the feeding tube or could be thinned with additional liquid to run through the pump. This formula does not have any added vitamins and minerals, but if you look at the nutrition facts, it certainly has plenty of vitamins and minerals that meet most of the dietary reference intakes, or DRIs, except for vitamin D, calcium, folate, sodium, and potassium. The company is very upfront that you need to add these things. Most families will add cow's milk or an alternative milk that's fortified with calcium and D, and then some sort of pediatric crushed multivitamin that will provide the needed folate, iron. Additional sodium can be given in the form of table salt, sodium chloride, or light salt, which is a blend of sodium chloride and potassium chloride. There is a healthy amount of fiber in this formula, about 3 grams per 240 calories, which helps with normal stooling and to feed the healthy gut bacteria. These formulas are very easily customizable for different dietary needs. The reason the company doesn't add any vitamins or minerals is to make sure that children with all different disease states can use the product. One major group would be individuals that have renal disease, chronic kidney disease. These individuals often need to be limited in the amount of sodium, potassium, magnesium, and phosphorus that they receive. And conventional standard formulas have synthetic vitamins added to them, which is really problematic with these children because it's difficult to take the vitamins and minerals out of the formula once they've been added. And I would say as a dietitian, this product most closely resembles the healthy meal pattern guidelines. There are no added sugars in this product. There is one of each of the food groups per meal. We're not missing any food groups. And it really provides a wholesome, varied, and convenient blenderized option that can be used on its own or in conjunction with any other formula. So one barrier to families using blenderized formulas is just the challenge of actually blending up meals through the blender, making sure that the child's getting what they need in terms of calories, carbohydrates, protein, fat, sodium, potassium, all the vitamins, and it really can just be too much, especially when there's a lot of other medical issues going on, therapy appointments, doctor's appointments. And so this product was really a game changer for a lot of families. So the first patient I had on Real Food Blends came to me on a hydrolyzed 1.5 calorie per milliliter formula. This patient had a G-tube placed shortly after they were born due to feeding intolerance and poor oral skills. At this point, the child was 4 years old, had fallen behind a little bit on the growth curve, and just was not tolerating the tube feed formulas anymore. Mom came to me feeding the child 2 ounces every 2 hours which is a very small amount for a 4-year-old and way too frequent of a feeding for anyone to have any semblance of normalcy to their day. Mom was in my office and the 2-hour mark was passed, and she asked me if she could feed the child in the office, and I said, sure, child needs to be fed. So she hooked up an empty 60 ml syringe to the G-tube extension, and I saw 60 mils plus of what looked very similar to the 1.5 hydrolyzed formula come all the way out the stomach and into the tube. And it was at that point that I realized, wow, Mom saying that this child wasn't tolerating really meant something when you see it for yourself. So I had read in ICAN, which was a journal at the time that focused on pediatric and child nutrition. I had read one of their articles that looked at implementing Blenderized diets. And this was really one of the first of its kind, and something that was suggested was trialing purees, instead of actually blending something to begin with. So I had Mom go and purchase stage 2 baby food and add a couple ounces to every feeding to work her way up to whatever volume they could get to, within reason. And I told her to call me on Monday and let's see how much we can tolerate. So Mom called me Monday, and the child was tolerating 8 ounces of puree per feeding every 3 hours. No gagging, no retching, no signs of intolerance. And the child's demeanor had markedly improved. So at the time, we had the doctor write a prescription for real food blends, switched the child over. I supplemented with salt, calcium, vitamin D, and then a multivitamin trace mineral product called NanoVM tube feed powder. The child started to grow and gain again. She appropriately caught up on the growth curve, and then actually was able to start feeding therapy, because when you're not gagging, retching, and vomiting all the time, and you actually feel good in your stomach, you're going to be more likely to try and eat by mouth, which is a really big problem for our children, especially those who hope to wean off the feeding tube. So next we're going to look at Functional Formularies Nourish. This is the pediatric version of their adult liquid hope product. The company states that this is a meal replacement. They only have one flavor, so already this formula does not have any variety to it. They also eliminate fruit. So that's an entire food group which is of concern, that is not in line with the normal healthy USDA My Plate guidelines for children. There's nothing wrong with fruit. If you go on their website, they have a lot of blog posts and just information about fructose and fructose overload, and there's just a lot of fear-mongering here, which is inappropriate, and it's not evidence-based, especially for children. This product does meet Blenderized criteria. It's a thicker puree formula, just like real food blends, but it doesn't have the variety like if you blended up meals and fed it through your child's feeding tube. So to date, there has been no research supporting or any studies conducted demonstrating that any one formula, even with real food, is better than a varied whole food diet. So I worry about the potential for developing intolerances. We know that children from a young age need to be exposed to a variety of foods and the protein within the food, as that teaches their immune system that these foods are friends and not foe. And it's just not normal for a child to have only rice and pea proteins as the source of protein in their diet unless they've been diagnosed and are being treated for multiple food allergies or some other condition that warrants a need to restrict animal-based protein sources. So this product isn't varied, and a healthy diet is defined as variety, balance, and moderation. No one eats the same thing every day, except perhaps for someone with a very limited diet due to allergies, or a feeding disorder like ARFID, or sometimes we see challenges in autism or severe eating disorders. So for a child that needs a feeding tube, there's no reason to not give them a varied diet. And then this product is vegan. So, is that necessary for children? No. Is it harmful? Not necessarily, but it can be. Vegan diets are deficient in B12, and they lack just the rich bioavailable animal protein that is especially important for children that have low energy needs and are medically fragile. So animal protein is also easier to digest. Whey protein can empty from the stomach very quickly. So a child that has existing GI issues may not do well on a formula like this that uses the main protein source as fiber-rich grains and beans. So the main carbohydrate source, which also doubles as a protein source, comes from garbanzo beans. And there's a lot of fermentable fiber here that can really be tough on the GI tract. They also include brown rice protein powder, and sweet potatoes. If you look at the nutrition facts label on this formula, it has a very high level of provitamin A, which is a carotenoid. So it's a kind of precursor to vitamin A, and too much of this can lead to carotenemia. And carotenemia is where the pigments of the skin start to orange and yellow. You'll see it noticeably in the palms of the hands and the soles of the feet. This is not a dangerous condition, but it does occur when a child is only on this formula with no other variety in the diet. So it's concerning to parents, when they see their child starting to turn orange. And I would argue that it's really a sign that we're needing more variety in the diet. This could happen to a child that eats by mouth. If they just love baby carrots and sweet potatoes and are just eating them at every meal and every snack, it will only take a couple weeks for them to also start to turn orange. And so I would say, hey, let's add some more variety into the diet. Let's rotate in some other vegetables, some other fruits, because we're obviously just getting too much. And it's important because different foods have different vitamins and minerals that complement each other. In terms of fiber, this product has 4.2 grams per 240 calories. This is a normal amount. If a child was getting, about 1,000 calories a day, that's about 12 grams of fiber. Depending on their age, this could be just right, may not be enough. But I will say that this fiber is very fermentable as compared to, real food blends, which, a lot of their fiber is soluble and just seems to be a little gentler on the gut. So in my clinical experience, I've had kids do great on this product. Those that were initially constipated on a thin liquid formula and then switched to Nourish started to have regular bowel movements. But at some point, several of the children that we monitored started to have constipation issues again. And we did all the things. We ensured they were receiving adequate hydration. We tried to use a little bit of juice to get, the osmotic laxative effect, maybe a little bit of olive oil. But sometimes children would just have to be taken off the product and put on something else. Additionally, this product has turmeric, ginger, and seaweed added to it. These, quote, functional foods are likely not in large enough amounts to see benefit or clinical efficacy, and there's always questionable potential for medication interactions. I don't have anything wrong with adding spices to your food or your child's food, but these haven't been studied long-term in children. This product hasn't been studied long-term. And so it's something that I would just prefer, it to not necessarily be given every single day. And at the same time, what are they claiming that these ingredients are doing? Because if you look at the research, it really takes a lot higher doses of these phytochemicals than what's probably included in the formula to see clinical benefit. So, it could be something that they're using just to market the product, but it's not actually helping. And we for sure want to make sure that it's not harming. So next we have Nestle's Compleat Pediatric Organic Blends. This is a blenderized tube feeding product that was really designed for the niche market. It's very expensive because it's 100% organic, which is not affordable or sustainable in the grand scheme of things. Personally, I struggled as a clinician to get this product approved for patients, and when it would get approved for their insurance, the durable medical companies were not getting enough reimbursement to want to supply the patients with this product. The product has 2 flavors. It has a chicken garden blend, which has animal protein as well as plant protein, and then a plant-based, which is a vegan formula, or at least vegetarian. It does meet Blenderized criteria, but it's made with purees, and we know that, if you start out with ready-made purees, we've already lost some of the nutrition just through the processing of the purees, and so, there could be some subtle differences in just nutrition, overall nutrition profile of the formula, but you really can't tell that because vitamins are added. So ingredient-wise, the main carbohydrate source in each of the products is either a mango or a pear puree, which has a very high natural sugar load. It has a mix of cheap protein sources, so dark meat, chicken, brown rice flour, and hydrolyzed pea protein. The brown rice flour and hydrolyzed pea protein have a lesser bioavailability than animal protein, which in my opinion makes this a lesser quality product compared to one of the blended formulas that uses an animal-based protein. It has vegetables in it, but only spinach and butternut squash, and then it has olive oil along with canola oil. It has a synthetic vitamin blend added to it. If you look on the back of the nutrition facts, you can't tell what vitamins are from the food and what vitamins have been added. And you should always check the nutrient analysis profile on every patient to customize it to them, their medical conditions, their medications, and work alongside a physician to monitor labs. The company touts the product to be the first organic, real food, nutritionally complete formula on the market. So there we see that buzzword, nutritionally complete. But actually, the first organic product on the market was Nourish. And even before that was Real Food Blends in terms of the first, quote, real food formula, which is what I would consider a more balanced, varied, real food meal, if you will. So this formula also has rosemary and turmeric added. So just like Nourish, the company is going for the marketing angle of all these, quote, functional foods and phytochemicals. You can't tell how much is added based on the ingredient list. And if you ask the company, they'd likely tell you that this is proprietary or trade secret information. But what we know from the literature is that, the turmeric in here likely is not added in a quantity enough to see clinical benefit or efficacy if we're going for anti-inflammatory effects. And we also have not studied adding spices and ingredients like this to a child's diet every single day, especially children that are on different medications that have the potential to interact with some of these phytochemicals. All that to say, it makes me a little wary. I would almost prefer it not to be in there, especially if a child is only on this product as their sole source of nutrition. And then we're going to look at Nestle's Compleat Pediatric Liquid product. Somehow this is in the same B4149 category as the rest of these blenderized formulas, but it is not a blenderized formula. It is a thin liquid, pourable formula that comes in a carton. They advertise real food added, but if you look at the ingredients, it actually says contains fruit and vegetable blend that includes tomato paste, green bean powder, peach puree, carrot powder, cranberry juice concentrate, and less than 2% dehydrated chicken powder. So in terms of the benefits of Blenderized being thicker, having that viscosity that really helps to decrease gagging and retching, that benefit is not found in this product. So it's minimally different from conventional pediatric formulas like Pediasure or Nutrin Jr. It has a synthetic vitamin blend added to it, which again is not wrong or a bad thing. You just need to look at every patient and make sure that they are getting what they need. Oftentimes, the standard formulas don't have enough vitamin D in them for children, so you need to make sure that you are supplementing appropriately and monitoring labs with a physician. This product also has a very excessive sugar content. So a little bit ago, the company used corn maltodextrin and corn syrup solids because these are a cheap carbohydrate source that is used in most enteral formulas. The acceptable macronutrient distribution ranges suggest that carbohydrates should comprise 40 to 65% of the diet. And for pediatrics, we typically see carbohydrates representing about 50% of the formula. So having a child's sole source of nutrition be 50% sugar and a very high glycemic index sugar at that is not what I would consider healthful. They switched the carbohydrate source to brown rice syrup recently, similar to Kate Farms. The brown rice aspect of brown rice syrup sounds healthier. It sounds, less caustic than corn syrup and corn maltodextrin. There's also, pretty big clamoring for corn to be removed from some of these products since it can be an allergen or cause some intolerances. But nevertheless, this product is still exceeding the recommendation of less than 10% of total calories per day should come from sugar. It's difficult to calculate on the nutrition label, and if you ask the company, they're not going to tell you that there's X grams of brown rice syrup per carton, but we know based on the minimal amount of food ingredients added to this product and that they're mostly powdered, that a large portion of this carbohydrate in the formula has got to come from sugar. And even though brown rice syrup sounds healthier, it's sugar by any other name. The product also has a lot of added fiber to it, and the added fiber is making up for the fact that it's not a real blenderized formula that has foods that have naturally occurring fiber that are blended up. So they've added gum acacia, which is a soluble fiber, pea fiber, which is insoluble, fructooligosaccharides, which is a pretty trendy fiber that most Nestle products have added to it, and then inulin, which is a soluble fiber from chicory. So again, fiber versus no fiber in a standardized polymeric formula sometimes helps, sometimes doesn't make a difference. It's when a formula is blended and has actual fiber from the food that's been blended and has a thicker consistency that we really see the stool bulking benefits that help to alleviate constipation. So next we're going to look at Abbott's Pediasure Harvest. This is advertised as a blended formula, but it is a thinner, pourable liquid from a carton. I would say that it is slightly thicker than a standard polymeric thin liquid formula, but definitely does not have the thicker viscosity benefits that you would see from a home blend or real food blends or functional formularies. It doesn't have any variety, so there's only one flavor, so that's already a knock against the product, because if this is used as a child's sole source of nutrition, they're only being exposed to bananas, spinach, whole grain brown rice, mango, broccoli, pumpkin, and rice maltodextrin, which by any other name is sugar. The product has lesser quality protein sources, so it uses soy protein powder, which most individuals that have a milk protein intolerance are likely not going to tolerate soy. The formula is advertised as dairy-free, but it's made in a facility that also processes dairy, so it's not safe for those that have a true cow's milk protein allergy. The formula is also made with tuna oil that could potentially be allergenic for some individuals because there are minuscule trace amounts of food proteins found in oil. So if your child has an allergy to fish, you need to run this product by your allergist. Of note, the product has rice maltodextrin added to it, which, at first glance, you see the word rice, and so you assume, oh, it's just food, it's a grain, but maltodextrin is sugar. And so, I ask, why does a blended formula like this need additional sugar added to it? And then there's some potential concern for giving a lot of banana and rice to low-tone constipated children. It's not that these foods are wrong, but I would want to see more variety, and let's not give bananas and rice every single day. Blended diets generally help to alleviate constipation by providing stool bulk as opposed to the thin liquid formulas, but too much fiber can also cause problems as well. This product contains 2 grams of fiber per 240 calories, so I would not necessarily consider this too much fiber, but depending on the kinds of fiber, you would just need to monitor and make sure there aren't any constipation issues that arise. From my clinical experience, I've had very few patients on this. It was backordered for a while due to production issues, and though it's touted to be very popular in my region, it was not popular in practice, and most of the durable medical companies were not even carrying this product. I've heard it's expensive, and obviously from my experience, it is not readily available. The product has a synthetic vitamin blend added to it, which again, I'm going to say this on about every single product. That's not an issue, but you definitely need to calculate your child or your client's energy needs and vitamin needs and make sure that this is giving them what they need to thrive. The last formula we're going to look at is Kate Farms Pediatric Standard 1.2. This is not a blenderized formula. It's actually in the B4150 enteral formula category. It's a thin, pourable liquid, and it's minimally different from other conventional pediatric formulas, but there's a big push in what we consider health halo marketing around this product because it advertises organic and plant-based, which they associate with being healthful, and that is not true. For example, a vegan chocolate chip cookie is not healthy because it's vegan. It's no different than a normal chocolate chip cookie, and we just need to understand, really the big takeaway from this is you need to look at the labels, look at the front of the package, see what claims it's making, but look at the back and look at the ingredients. This product is a perfect example of, another term we use called health washing. So it's not a whole foods formula. It touts organic plant-based superior nutrition, but when you look at the ingredients, it contains pea and rice protein, which are plant-based, poor bioavailability proteins, and then this, quote, Spectra 50 milligram superfood blend, which has concentrates of broccoli, camu, tomato, acai, turmeric, garlic, basil, cinnamon, elderberry, carrot, mangosteen, several other concentrates, and then also includes extracts of green Arabica coffee bean, green tea, onion, apple, Japanese pagoda tree, blackcurrant, and several others. So when you look at the nutrition facts on this product, they say that these are non-allergenic phytochemicals that don't contain caffeine. So the fact that these phytochemicals or extracts compounds from fruits and vegetables are not allergenic, that means there's no protein in them. So these are really just like a whiff of fruits and vegetables. So we're not getting any of the vitamin and mineral benefits, any of the fiber benefits. We're not really getting anything that's of use here. This is no better than a mid-level marketing company like Arbonne or Juice Plus that is just selling you a glorified food product, i.e. a protein powder or sugar gummy that has added vitamins, which are not regulated or studied. So as a parent, you have to read the labels in the fine print. Also, if we're going to really get nitty-gritty here, 50 milligrams is tiny, and studies on any of these phytochemicals show that much greater amounts than whatever part each of these ingredients comprises of the 50 milligram blend is needed to show clinical benefit or efficacy. For example, turmeric must be given in doses of 1,000 to 1,500 milligrams in adults to see anti-inflammatory benefits. So you likely wouldn't need as large of a dose for a child, but even if we cut it in half and said, okay, 500 to 750, that is still many times greater than just this 50 milligram blend. And turmeric does not comprise 100% of that 50 milligram. All that to say, these ingredients are added for marketing hype. It's really added to disguise the fact that this is no different from any other standard tube feed product on the market that is made from a cheap protein source, vegetable oils, and sugar. On that note, the main carbohydrate source here is brown rice and agave syrup, both 100% sugar. So if a child was receiving 1,000 calories per day of this product, that would be 30 grams of sugar per day, which is 12% of the daily calories, and that exceeds the daily recommendation for calories coming from sugar to be less than 10%. Other formulas that are real, quote, blended products use starches like rice, potatoes, squash, and grains as the major source of carbohydrate, as opposed to this product, which is still using sugar to comprise about 50% of the calories. So this product is very similar to Nestle's Compleat Pediatric in terms of its macronutrient distribution and the fact that its carbohydrate comes from sugar. And I would argue that long-term, this is not the best choice for a child who's receiving a product like this as their sole source of nutrition. And lastly, this product has a lot of added prebiotic fiber. That's fiber that's not naturally occurring. If the product was actually made from real food, it would have naturally occurring fiber. It has gum acacia, pea fiber, fructooligosaccharides, and inulin, so very similar fiber profile to Nestle's Compleat Pediatric Thin Liquid product. The company itself recommends that you titrate over to this formula very slowly because there can be some GI issues that cause gas and bloating because of the fiber added to this. I've had some children on this product do fine. I've also had children that we have titrated over very slowly, just like the company suggests, and they really just can't get past the bloating and the gas from the product, which causes abdominal distension that can leave them very uncomfortable, especially if they're non-mobile. In summary, blenderized diets or formulas can use whole foods or purees. The dietary guidelines should be followed as tube feeding is the sole source of nutrition for many individuals, and there's no reason that we shouldn't be giving them the same balance, variety, and moderation as we would give children that can eat by mouth. There's a lot of confusion and differences between these products. There's a lack of standardization and a lack of prospective clinical trials, so you really have to be careful with every product, looking at what claims it makes and then looking at the ingredients. Are they 4 to 5 ingredients that are, simple, we know what they're coming from, or are there a bunch of additives in there that really don't make sense and aren't something that you would feed yourself or feed your child that eats by mouth? If a child fails a thin liquid blended formula, like some of them that are listed on here, that does not mean that they have failed a blenderized diet. The first studies used purees and mixed them together so that the formula intentionally had a thicker viscosity to it that had to be syringe bolused. Part of the magic of a blenderized formula is that its thicker texture really helps to decrease reflux and gagging and retching. So if you're using a product that is advertised as blended, yet it's a thin liquid that's no different from standard conventional thin liquid formulas, you're not going to have that added benefit. Therefore, it's unfair to say they failed a blended diet when they really have not been given a chance. And then nutritionally complete is this false reality. You know, if a formula needs vitamins and minerals added to it, that's not a bad thing. It just needs to be used judiciously. Normal children don't all need multivitamins. We shouldn't give all of them multivitamins, but there, of course, are times when it's warranted. Obviously, this is case by case, and you should work with a dietitian and a medical physician to ensure that you're supplementing them appropriately. This concludes the video today. If you have any questions or you're looking for more resources, I would love to chat. There's a link in the show notes below where you can contact me on my website at www.christinaandersonrdian.com. Just a friendly reminder that this webinar is not intended as professional medical advice. Please consult with your medical team prior to making any changes to your diet, and all views expressed are my own. Thank you.